Welcome to the Empowered Spirit Show. This is your host, Terry Ann Hyman. I'll explore the connection to the human spirit in a way that helps to navigate your life, including crisis. I am passionate about helping you to open up to your intuition and the metaphysical world of spirit to find your confidence in your own inner guidance. Take a pause, be inspired, learn ways to show up focused, centered, and more dynamic in your everyday life.
Welcome back to the Empowered Spirit Show. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me today. This episode is being sponsored by Ritual and Shelter. Are you looking for a magical place to shop and hold space? Check out Ritual and Shelter online or in Homewood, Alabama. Browse through their bookshelves covering topics such as energy healing, crystal healing, Reiki, chakras, auras, the Akashic Records, shadow work, astrology, and earth-based healing. You can also find herbal teas and tinctures alongside their crystals and oils to help establish a mindful mindset and fluid ambience before meditation, ritual work, and reflection. Ritual and Shelter is dedicated to providing one-on-one, in-depth conversations with customers to help them find the most efficient healing methods and resources that match their unique interest and energy. They offer tarot sessions, Reiki, sound bowl, and crystal healing, and now they are offering witch consultations. Visit ritualshelter.com to book an appointment and bring peace back to the body, mind, and spirit. You can also find them on Instagram at Ritual Shelter Shop, as well as Pinterest at Ritual Plus Shelter. As this podcast goes to air, we're in a transformative week. The universe is handing you the keys to completely rewrite your story from the inside out. Mercury retrograde returns to Scorpio and joins forces with Wednesday's powerful new moon, creating an extraordinary portal for deep inner work. This isn't about surface level change. Scorpio's deep and invites complete metamorphosis. By Friday, we shift into optimistic Sagittarius season, the manifestation powerhouse that carries us through year's end. Remember, you're in a cosmic reconstruction zone. The old version of you is dissolving so the real change can emerge. This week's transformation sets a stage on how you will close out 2025. The idea of a cosmic reconstruction zone is so powerful. It often brings up a deep need to understand the very patterns and stories we're being asked to release. You might be feeling that strong pull to break free from the old cycles that have been holding you back, but you're not sure where to start. For those of you who feel this cosmic pull to go deeper and understand your own soul's journey, I have something special for you. I invite you to learn more about my upcoming Past, Present, Future, the Akashic Healing Timeline Method class. It's a class designed to help you recognize the present repeated patterns, habits, and addictions, understand where they come from in your past, and learn how you can shift and heal them for your future. If you want to know more about this class and my private mentoring for your soul's journey, you can schedule a complimentary spiritual upgrade breakthrough call with me. Together, we can talk about the lessons you're going through in your present life, how they were impacted by your past, and what you can do to turn this around for your future. I'll put the link in the show notes for you to schedule that call, as well as the class information. So this theme of deep transformation and rewriting our own story is so relevant, and it ties in perfectly with today's episode. We'll be exploring the very energy of conscious creation and forward movement with my special guest, Judith Corvin Blackburn, author of the 6D Ascension Journey. We'll be diving deep into how you can consciously create your reality and activate your own inner light. We talk about color, sacred geometry, the higher dimensions, all of these many ways that you can open up. Before we begin with the interview, let's take a moment to pause and center and set an intention for this new moon energy. So wherever you are, if you can, close your eyes for a moment. Taking a nice deep inhale, breathing up the body. And as you exhale, call all your energy into you. Call it in. Take another deep inhale, breathing up the body. And as you exhale, begin to align your energy, calling in the spiritual body to align right on top of the emotional, mental, physical layers, all centering. Inhale, expanding the breath up the body. And now as you exhale, dropping right into the heart, right into that deepest part of your heart. Feel that connection, your spirit and the greater spirit. Know that you are loved, guided, protected. Feeling all this energy coming in around us as we go to set the space. Calling in our Reiki masters, the teachers that have come before us. Calling in the angels to open the heart with joy and love. Calling in the crystal beings for amusement, magnification. And now calling in your higher self right above the crown to help receive these messages for you to set your intentions. Taking a moment and noticing this great wheel of life. Here we are opening up to this holiday season. We find ourselves in the direction of the west for the season of fall. We honor the changing, the shifting, the leaves fall. We recognize with gratitude all the many lessons we've been through, all the wisdom coming forward. We honor, calling in the directions to the west and the north, the east and the south, above us, below us, right here in that deepest part of your heart. Taking a moment, setting an intention, your path, your light. See and hear and feel and know these intentions. And allow those elevated emotions to radiate out all around you, setting that energy. Taking another deep inhale and exhale, slowing down, grounding. Feel the heart opened. Feel that third eye radiating. And as you're ready, bringing the awareness back, coming back. So my guest today is Judith Corvin Blackburn. She is a transpersonal psychotherapist, teacher, shamanic minister, and co-founder of the Shamanic Multidimensional Mystery School. She's authored many books, including Activating Your 5D Frequency, and has been committed for more than 50 years to inspiring people to step into joy, purpose, and inner authority. So together we can create a higher consciousness world. Let us welcome her to the show. Welcome, Judith.
Thank you, Terry. Glad to be here.
I am very glad to talk to you. I'm so excited. As we mentioned before I even hit record, I love Barbara Hand-Cloud. She was on the show with her book, Alchemy of Nine Dimensions. Fell in love with her. And then when I saw your book coming out, and she had the forward, like, oh my gosh, I have to meet you. I have to talk to you. So congratulations on your book, The 6D Ascension Journey, Activating the Light Codes in Our 12-Strand DNA. What led you to writing this book now?
I always have an interesting experience writing books. This was my fourth. My classic, after the first book, I always knew I'd write a book. I thought actually way back in my 20s that it would be a novel because I was an English major. That was very... and I love literature. So things happen unpredictably. But after my first book, which was Journey to Wholeness, I didn't really think about writing another. And then the next one popped in, and that's the Empowering the Spirit one. The last two books, both of which have been published by Inner Traditions, and which is how I connected directly, by the way, with Barbara Hand-Cloud. They had sent her my book, Activating Your 5D Frequency. I had read a lot of Barbara, and Alchemy of Nine Dimensions was foundation for that book as it came in. But what happened is the publisher sent it to her because I had used her charts, and she loved the book and offered to write me the foreword. And since then we have we've never met in person, but we've connected via email a lot. So anyway, when that book just came in, I was not writing another book. I had been teaching multidimensionality. I thought about writing another book. I was at the ocean, and within 3 days, I started writing and came back after a 2-week vacation with 2 chapters, and it went from there. And this book, current book, The 6D Ascension Journey, that was a lot of starts and stops. I was so impacted by the intensity of the polarity we're in and how people seem to be operating on different realities. And in fact, my working title for the book was Entering Earth's New Reality. I started writing it, I stopped, and then all of a sudden it came back full force. And it just drops in, basically. But the premise, which is to introduce the sixth dimension along with our fifth dimensional frequency, because I believe we're going from being 3D, 4D humans into being 5D, 6D humans. And what the sixth dimension adds is how we create reality. And the fact that for millenniums, we've been creating it unconsciously for the most part. And so when we can begin to own that and understand the interaction between 6D and 3D, we can not only create a new reality for our personal lives, but we can shift the planet, which is a deep passion of mine.
I love that so much. I mean, right at the beginning of the book, you talk about like we're in this chaos, right? Like the world is. And like you're saying, there's different perceptions. And I have a lot of people that come to me and say, but the world is crazy. Why do you keep saying we're changing? Why do you keep saying you're shifting? And I think that's what you're talking about. Right. I don't know how I missed your fifth dimension book. I have no idea how I missed that, but I'm so glad I saw the sixth dimension come across my emails because I do talk a lot from working with Barbara and learning about her work and then doing my own work. I do talk a lot about fifth dimension, but the sixth dimension is also very valuable. One of the things I think we do have in common is the love of color and sound and all these energies and symbols that come in. I think that's so important. So I'm very excited to talk about what is that sixth dimension and how can it help us shape that reality.
Okay. The sixth dimension is nothing new, and not even in Western thought, because Plato called it the world of forms. Indigenous elders, especially Grandma Twyla Nitsch, which a lot of people know of her, called it not the realm of plenty, but I've forgotten exactly the phrase, but essentially meaning the same thing. Everything we can imagine, think of, anything that actually exists in material form has its energetic parallel in the sixth dimension. And we as well do. Our souls also are there in an energetic configuration. So if we have enough people agreeing on a particular idea or vision, I use the metaphor of social media hits. If we can get enough hits, we'll take world peace. That would be nice, yes? So if enough of us are holding that vision and belief that this will be, then it will come into consciousness and it will show up in the third dimension, and therefore we will have a peaceful planet.
So I agree with you. It's like the tipping point. It's like the
Yes.
Maharishi effect, right? When enough of us can hold that, which is why it is so important to hold that vibration and to understand how we can do this.
Yes. And then, of course, the other piece that comes up is we have a lot of unconscious beliefs still. So, in my work as a therapist, I really work a lot with the human psyche. And it's very complex, in case you haven't noticed, right?
Right? Oh, yes, I've noticed.
Right?
Yes.
We have all sorts of contradictory beliefs hanging out there. So, my passion, my vision is what a peaceful world is like. And then I have programming this, oh no, there's always going to be war. We can't resolve things. Basically all of that junk, right? That we need to bring into consciousness and calm down so that it no longer impacts what we're really trying to create.
Yeah, I agree. And so when we jump on the bandwagon of, oh my God, the world's falling apart, and we go down that, it'll never change, that just lowers that vibration. Versus, I recognize it. I'm not saying I overpass it or I don't pay attention. I do. But I know this work is so important. I know we can create this shift. So I have to be part of holding that vibration. So that is a part of what you're saying.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that whole idea of our DNA and our coding, which I do want to get into. But before I forget this point, what you're talking about too is like all those things that come in, and Barbara Handcloud helped me to understand it, that fourth dimension energy. That's where we hold those imprints, the religion, the archetypes, and all that. That's where we can be squashed back down. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
actually, in my book, Activating Your 5D Frequency, I have a chapter on how to navigate through the fourth dimension because it's really important. I don't know that
Yeah.
we're going to talk a lot about that right now, but
Yeah.
all of our emotional wounding, um, uh, it is really fourth dimensional. And it gets embedded in our psyches. And the other piece that happens in the fourth dimension, all time is simultaneous. So if something happened to me 50 years ago that I didn't work through, it feels like it's still going on. That's
Yeah.
very confusing to people. People go, this is over. Why don't, but a part of us doesn't know that. But at any rate, and Barbara does a beautiful job of this. If we haven't worked through these things enough, to allow light to come through. Because it should have this diaphanous light in it, it gets clouded up, it gets murky, and the higher dimensional information gets blocked. So if you think about it, really in the 1980s began this sort of collective movement of everybody getting into therapy or 12-step groups or healing, working on healing the personal. Because as we heal the personal, it clears that fourth dimensional cloud, clears it up, and we have access now to who I believe we really are designed to be, which is a 5D, 6D, or fifth dimensional, sixth dimensional human.
Yeah, I so agree with you. And the ways that you talk about in your book, I just love. I mean, that's why I do play sound bowls. I do use color. I've been an early study of color. Oh my gosh, that helped me change so much. Way back, I studied with a teacher in Canada, and just like color is all around my house, crystals are all around my house. And that's one of the things with Barbara. She helped me acknowledge that I am spiritually sourced from Lemurians. That's where all my knowledge. I woke up one day, it's like, oh my gosh, I've had a lesson like 3, 4 days in a row. So all of this is really important that we recognize, like, this is why we're doing some of these therapies. This is what it's for. So even if it doesn't translate so much into English,
Right.
bringing those sounds, opening up our structure is what's going to allow us, as you've just said, to open up that coding and bring that light, those codes, that sacred geometry, you even talk about all of that in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we're getting there. I do believe we're getting there. It doesn't get reported in the news.
You're absolutely right. It does not get reported in the news. So I did a lot of my training in New York, and I lived there, raised my family there, and I came back to my hometown where I am now in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm about to move though. In Birmingham, Alabama. And when I came down here, there weren't very many people at all doing Reiki, doing sound, doing color. And now you can pretty much find a sound bowl offering class, yoga, something like every week down here. So that does show that we are opening up. We do. And then we're seeing color everywhere. I think that has to do with Densha's work coming out into the world. But all of this is really important that we can access the information, just like you're talking about in the book. You're giving us the examples, you're giving us the meditations, you're recognizing that we can reach up into here and access it. I'm also a student of Cindy Dale's, and she talks about the 12 chakra system. So
Uh,
activating that eighth and ninth, which is a lot of where that sacred geometry, the colors, right, come in. And this is what you talk about in your book. And this is how important it is that we can begin to understand it.
right. Right.
Great. So now you talk about expanding our perceptual bandwidth. Can you
Yeah.
explain that a little bit?
We have been programmed to view things from such a narrow perspective so that as we're opening up spiritually and we're opening up consciously, really, we are going outside of the paradigm that pretty much everybody, certainly in the West, was programmed with. And we were taught either, directly or indirectly, that to go outside makes you crazy or weird or whatever else scares people
Or woo, hello.
from breaking out and really seeing things from a higher, more expanded perspective. And so when we begin to understand, this is really an important piece. And it can take courage. Typically, I do believe there are millions of people on the planet moving into this, but that of those millions really are forerunners. We're at the very, beginning transition period. So there are still a lot of people that have no idea of what we're talking about. Nonetheless, millions are a lot of people. I want to stress that. I also think that a lot of people remain in hiding. I had a psychotherapy practice for many years in Springfield, Illinois, and I was kind of known as the transpersonal therapist there. But what I found was that, and there were huge numbers of people there that were into higher spiritual awareness. I would get clients in my office going, I think I'm all alone. I don't know anybody else doing this. And I mean, I could have come up with 300 people immediately, in a town of about 100,000. And that was the only people I knew, never mind, right? All the people out there. So I think part of what goes on is that, but it's changing, as you say, in Birmingham, you're seeing the shift, is that a lot of people held the belief they were the only ones. Now, of course, Zoom has helped hugely. All of a sudden, we interconnect with people all over. And so I think really, in that sense, COVID did us a great favor because it did interconnect people from far away. It gave far more ways to get this out there.
Yeah, I so agree. I mean, I'm part of Reiki Raise International, and they have summits and they have meetings. They have a summit going on right now. But you can connect with other people. They did an online Reiki mastery, and I loved it all over the world. And this is one of the conversations. All over the world, people are doing Reiki. All over the world, people are holding that light. And to me, that was just like, yes, I love it because I have felt like what you've described. I'm the only one doing this. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. I'm still kind of out there. I had a near death experience that showed me you got to stop playing small. You're not done here, right? I didn't even know that was going on, but that's what happened to me. And it sent me on a huge search, which was good because I did meet a lot of new teachers and opened up my consciousness. Now, you talk about star DNA. I haven't heard that term. If you could explain that too.
Okay, so we have 12 strands of DNA. Well, at least 12, I guess, but we've known for a long time in elementary science that we have 12 strands of DNA. Classically, scientists have called 10 of those strands, because they've been dormant, junk DNA. And if you think about how insane that is, how can we have 10 strands of DNA that serve no function? I mean, that just, a smart 7-year-old would go, huh? Right. Nonetheless, that's part of that narrow programming. So, what's beginning to happen as more and more humans are opening this consciousness and letting light in, because we're getting bombarded with photons from that's filled with star energy and wisdom. So, as more and more of us open this, let me pull back for a minute on it. It's lighting up, or we're lighting up, I should say. We are actively involved in this consciously or unconsciously, more of those DNA strands. And those DNA strands hold amazing gifts. So, becoming telepathic and clairsentient and being able to tune in to the spheres of the universe. I mean, it goes on and on. And many of the indigenous tribes have been able pretty much to hold that open. And they have not wanted to talk about it to European descent people for good reason, since they had, they were not, they were harmed a lot for their awareness and their consciousness. So this is not new. This is where we've been before. You talk about Lemuria, right? And which, from my understanding was seeded from the great star nations. And then, of course, Atlantis. And more people are having memories and being able to understand in Lemuria, we were 5D, 6D humans. It's just who we were. And then in Barbara's theory is it was through cataclysmic geological kinds of things that shut us down about 13,000 years ago, which appears to correspond with the same time Atlantis went down for the last time. So through that trauma, among perhaps other collective decisions, I don't claim to know all those mysteries, our DNA began to shut down. And now we're in the reverse process.
I haven't really heard that term junk DNA, but I love that you bring it forward because it shows that we can grow and expand.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's really important. So, a lot of these like portals of energy, we've got 1111 coming up. It will have aired after this, but those kind of energies, those kind of ways to activate the light body. I have this beautiful crystal light labyrinth, and it takes you through these programs that helps you get out of the mind, but it opens you up to the color and the light. These are the things that can help us to do that. It's kind
Absolutely.
of like too the idea like when we thought we couldn't change our brain, right? Like, oh, the brain can't change. Now science is showing, yes, we can. I think this is exactly what you're hitting on.
Yes. And it's opening naturally. And I do think some people don't, that if you don't know what's going on, it can be scary. And, part of the difference in realities is those people fearing change have a whole different view than those of us going, let's go, let's do it, let's bring it in.
Yeah.
So that of course creates a lot of the chaos.
Yeah. No, I think it's really important that we can allow ourselves to open up and recognize that our DNA is still shifting and growing. We're so wound so tight right now. I feel like that's part of it. Like, oh my God, nothing will ever change. It's so bad. But yet there's so many things that we can awaken to and hold the light, like we've been saying. And I think that's really important to recognize. We can grow, we can shift. I also think too, a lot of the kids coming in now, that have the telepathy, the autism, the kids like that, they're not grounded. But yet, I think from what you've just said, I think this confirms it that they have access to that, to the upper realms and to those upper parts of their DNA. And therapists and scientists and doctors aren't knowing this. Now, there are many, and I will shout out to the speech therapist and the other therapists that are working with these children, right? Like how important that is. But I think this is part of what you're saying too.
Yes, absolutely. And and one of those pieces is children, those highly sensitive beings that are coming in and are very empathic. Well, just imagine if you don't know what to do with all those feelings coming in, and half of them are yours and half of them aren't. And the mental health profession has not yet gotten there.
Yeah.
But they will, because we're
I
being
think they are starting, and I think there are
bombarded.
some, but I also know too, like a lot of with the speech therapists and the other therapists too, that licenses were being revoked for going there with this kind of thought and theory. And so this is where we have to stand up and take that away and recognize, no, this is really important. I know I'm super sensitive. All my life I've been dealing with that and finally learning how to work with it. And I'm going close to 70 here, right? So it's not like I'm one of the kids coming in, but I can only imagine. And I do know what they're going through. I can experience it. I'm tuned in. I've tapped into the hill. I've tapped into this information. But I think what you're talking about right here in your book is hitting upon that. And for us to start embracing it is going to help us all around, all of humanity, not just individually, but collective. I get so excited when I can talk to somebody that talks my language. There you go. So yes, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I think it's important. And the star seed stuff that you bring forward.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. It's not a term I used until about 3 or 4 years ago. And now I'm teaching a starseed course. And it's just it, the level, and actually I'm doing one currently. I usually do them a couple of times a year. The level of advancement that I'm seeing is really mind-blowing. It's just amazing uh, how people are tuning in to these higher realms. And my other piece, which I don't want to miss because it's really important, I think the reason why I feel it's so important to acknowledge our star seed background for many people on the planet are starseeds, is that we can remember what it's like to live in a loving, harmonious, just world where everybody thrives, where all, plants thrive, animals thrive, because that's what's going to help us create it in 3D manifestation.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I am just starting to talk about it myself. I mean, since Barbara was on the show, this has been now a year that she was on the show. I started looking and talking a little more and bringing it forward. And then I have taken some galactic classes. Yeah, the producer of my new show, Soul Messages, he's teaching John Knapp. And so I have been learning more and more of that connection. It's not just one lifetime I'm seeing. It's like learning more and more of how those connections fit in. And then being in that vibration of energy when we can move out of the 3D, which is what your book is helping us to do. You're giving us different chapters on different ways to do it, meditations at the end of each chapter. And this, I think, is how we do it. Take the judgment out and then have those experiences. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And learn more and more to trust and trust them and also to support each other.
To support each
Because,
other. I agree. Yeah. You're just helping me being able to talk about it more because I'm thinking, oh gosh, I'm still here. People got to think I'm a little lost it. But on the other hand, I can't hold it in anymore. So when I can talk about it, when I see other people are talking about it, it's like, okay, I do need to open up. And maybe little by little to my audience. I think that's important, but I think it's so important. And I think we're seeing it everywhere. We're seeing more and more things in the sky and more, information coming forward. And if you watch Gaia, it's like, oh my gosh, all those UFOs, all of that. But there is that awakening coming forward. We're not the only species, right? We can communicate, and this will help us to reach that next level for humanity, which is, I think, what we're all wanting to see and happen.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Right? It definitely is. Now, part of this, I don't know exactly what you mean by this, and you can explain it a little bit, but what you're also asking here too is a spiritual adulthood. What is that?
Okay, now that came from Carolyn Mace. So
Okay, there you go. It's another one of my first
another
teachers.
one.
Yeah.
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 And when she was talking about how we needed to stop seeing some divinity as taking care of us, that we had to step into our own divinity. It was really about base chakra issues. The when to me, spiritual adulthood is when we realize that we have created everything in our lives. Sometimes we create really hard things. And it's not because we're bad. It's because either we're so advanced we thought, hey, I can handle that. And whoops, it's a little different when you're in the body. Um, or it's simply lessons for us to expand our own soul growth.
Yeah.
Every experience can help our enlightenment. So then we step out of victimhood. When we realize, oh no, this is not being done to me, this is something I'm participating in. And if it's time to change that, I have the power to do that. That's that empowered spirit.
I agree. I agree. And I love to hear that. And that's one of the reasons I like to work in the higher dimensions. I work in the Akashic realm. We get out of the 3D, then there's no judgment. Like you're saying, it's just lessons. Let's learn. Let's bring the wisdom forward. And to me, that's so important. And then I think that's how we can start. That's how we start to break down those past experiences that are keeping us stuck in
Right.
this reality we keep creating over and over and over and over again. Yeah. So important that we can open up. Now, you talk a little bit about sacred geometry, which I love. How does that come into play?
Well, I had to learn more about sacred geometry because I was writing a book on the sixth dimension. And the sixth dimension is really holds all the sacred geometric pattern. Primary way I learned more was by taking a class where we actually drew different geometric patterns. So it wasn't just an intellectual process because part of this evolution we're in is bringing things out of the brain and into the heart where we and it getting embodied so we can feel it. So being able to draw it is really a very special experience. But everything in what we call manifested reality is made up of basically 5 platonic shapes, which is in and of itself amazing to understand the intricate order of the universe and how it all fits together and how it all holds cosmic information and ways we can communicate, not just with our own species, but ultimately with other species as well, other intelligences that are out there.
Yeah, I so agree. I so agree. And yeah, I'm a yoga student, so mandalas and yantras and all of that came in important. I'm also an artist. I worked for an amazing jewelry artist in New York who worked in nature. People were always sending him specimens, but he would examine it and take it down to its original structure. And then
Oh,
how it grows through that whole like Fibonacci code and the pie and all that, and just bring that sacred geometry. It was fascinating, but another way to learn about it. And I
yeah.
think we can. I think sometimes we get so conditioned to only knowing it in the mind. And you just said that. And I just wanted to repeat that it's not just in the mind. When we drop into the heart, so important. Yeah.
Yes. And in fact, we're understanding more and more that the heart is where a lot of intelligence is held, not in what we think. We need our minds. There's a balance between the heart mind, but similar to the ego, the mind should not be in charge. The heart needs to lead, and the mind, you can use the mind to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, I agree. But the heart needs to lead. Yeah. 100% with you on that.
And you've talked about non-judgment, and that's a really key piece because as soon as we put judgment on something, we immediately lower its frequency
I
and
agree.
we put it in a box.
I agree.
Who
Yeah.
makes the box, right?
I agree. And that can go as easy as like, people with intuition. Yeah, I don't trust it. I doubt it as soon as I get, whoop, we're up there. Whoop, we're down, up. So it's learning to trust that and to get out of that. And again, I think it's that fourth dimension energy that squashes us back into 3D. And then we become rigid because that's what the intellect wants us to do, stay where we know we are. So it
Right.
does take a little courage, but sometimes when we can go about it without the mind, like even like I said, like in a yoga class or a sound bowl class or something like that, where you can then drop out of the mind and just allow the light body to open up, it's so important. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I love your work. I'm so excited to talk about it, obviously. And I think it's just so important that we all hear it and from many different ways. And to really even talk more about the sixth dimension for me is very fascinating. I can relate right with it. I think it's just so important. Yeah. What are your hopes for the book?
Oh, well, that it reaches anybody it can help. And by help, not just personally, but as you were saying, Terry, so many of us have had to break through the fear of being visible, right? Me
That's
too.
past life and
Yeah.
generational, both.
So, but I do think past like other lifetime trauma really
I
um,
agree.
drives that.
Yeah,
So, uh, yeah, we've all been burned at the stake, metaphorically or literally. And there's a great,
agree.
uh, and I wish I knew the woman that sings this song, but it's a songwriter who has a line, "They burned us at the stake. It didn't hurt that bad." So, what
Right.
else?
But some of us still carry that wound. And I do get a lot of people coming in with
Yeah,
that archetype. And so we have to break through so that they can go on. And I know I've carried it. And I know I've carried that visible. I have like the Ashkenazic energy, my relative, my ancestors fled from Russia, right? So don't get visible. Don't tell anybody. And then I know I have past life from the Holocaust that it's like, whoa, like really uncovering that. I've had to do a lot of work around. And this has been like even just recent this past year, doing that deep work to understand more and more. And I think every year, every time we come into some healing, sometimes we can say, oh, haven't I healed this? But we're being shown deeper parts of ourselves. Yeah.
absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
that spiral, because when you're dealing with that same patterning, it feels like you're back where you started. But in fact, we're not.
You're
We're
not.
at a higher octave of it.
I so agree. And one of the diagrams I did love in your book, I did want to point out before we close up here, is this diagram that you show
Yes,
the
and that came
dimensions.
from Barbara's work.
Yeah.
So,
Did it come from hers too? Yeah, I know she has a couple of them where she uses her son's illustrations, but I just love that you've reiterated that and showing us where we can open up and bring this in. I think that was very important. I right away highlighted that. Yeah. But there's such great information, chapter by chapter, meditations, ways in which we can access for ourselves. And so, yeah, I think even what you said early on, like having that courage to take a step forward, even if we're like going, what? I don't get it, but allow the judgment to go away and the discernment to come forward. I think that's a really great way to look at it. So I'm so excited you put this book out. I'm going to have to go back and find your 5D book. I don't know how I missed it. I don't know where I was, right? But
Oh, because I
congratulations
was
on
in
this.
hiding, you mean?
All right, maybe. I don't
So
know, but I'm
organized.
surprised because I do get a lot of other emails really looking at that. But I've had a lot going on. I have a new grandbaby, and
Oh,
that is talk about stepping into Mimi shoes, my mother's shoes, and
mhm.
feeling that generational energy coming. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's just like so amazing. So yeah, my whole world has been shifted and changed, and I'm about to move and make a big transition to be closer to my family. Yeah. So many things can come forward for all of us to activate this energy and not stay stuck, especially right now, especially with all the chaos going on. We need to be able to hold the light for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. And realize we're part of a big global team,
Yeah. I
and each
agree.
of us has a role, and then we will create something beautiful.
We will, and we are, and it is shifting. So again, just holding that message of holding the light and not letting your vibration drop, I think is really important. And keep activating that light codes within you. So important. So important. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So I know I could go on, but I would like to just ask, where can we find you? Are you teaching? Tell us a little bit about your galactic classes. Yeah.
You can find me at www.empoweringthespirit.com. Um, yes, right now I'm teaching the Starseed class. I will be teaching it again. I think I'm going to do it in May. I am internally committed, hopefully not driving myself crazy trying to get it done, to offer a class also on this book. I see it as a 4-week class. I have a 10-week class I created on my fifth dimension book, but quite frankly, I didn't want to do 10 weeks in a row. So I've pulled back from teaching that. And my book, Empowering the Spirit, actually has a self-directed course that can be accessed through my website as well. And um, what excites me the most, Terry, is that we are all in this together. And whether we're scared or not, we're doing it. We're bringing it forward. And it's a fabulous, what? Mass movement, really.
Yeah, I so agree. And let's just give a shout out to Inner Traditions for bringing all this work forward and offering these opportunities for authors like you to bring their work out. Really great.
Absolutely.
Love them.
And
Yeah,
they're
for
great.
sure.
They really are a great publishing house. So,
Yeah. And to Barbara Handcloud, we could just give her one more shout out. She has a dear spot in my heart for sure,
and
too.
she
Yeah.
started Bear and Company. That's
I
part
did
of,
know that. Yes. Just from
yeah.
meeting her. Yes. And what she does. It's amazing. Yeah. And I know she's in Santa Fe now, which I love. Yeah. So it is awesome to have this collection of people around us and that we can talk this language and help to bring it out into the world. I so agree. So as we go to close, and I know we've said it, but if you would just leave our listeners with one last uplifting thought on how you feel that working with the sixth dimension and the ascension journey can help to empower the spirit right now.
When we understand how powerful we are, when we understand that we're holding this divine energy, we begin to understand that we really can create the lives that we deserve to live and the planet that we deserve to live on. So that's a really, essential piece for me. The other piece I want to tell your listeners and viewers is we're not going to do it consistently. Don't worry, we're not perfect. So, yeah, I'm high vibe today. I wake up tomorrow and I'm irritable. And then I have to work back to, okay, let's move through that. What are my feelings? How do I get higher vibration again? So, it's an up and down process, but we are moving forward. I think that self-judgment tends to come in when people's vibration lowers, and I just want them to know it's part of the process. So,
Yeah, I so agree. And that's why we have the tools. We have Reiki, we have sound bowls. Get a set. You can get one or two and just like tone with it and listen to it. Get color in your house. You can get those all around now, the light bulbs. These will help you to break through. And it's like the moon, right? The moon goes through different phases every 2.5 days. It's the same idea. So I so agree with that message. Thank you for putting it out there because I think we can get a little distressed here and there. But keeping the vibration is really important. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much for being with us today. To your spirit, namaste. What a powerful conversation with Judith. It's a beautiful reminder that we are all part of a global team holding the light and co-creating a new reality. As she said, it's not always a linear process, but every step forward, every moment we choose a higher vibration, we are contributing to a more beautiful world. Be sure to check out her work. And as we close our time together today, I want to leave you with this feeling of hopeful expansion. The universe is always guiding us, always offering us opportunities to grow and to heal. Thank you for sharing this space with me today. May you walk forward with hope in your heart and gratitude as your guide. Want to go deeper, learn more about my upcoming programs? Be sure to schedule your spiritual upgrade breakthrough call with me. Thanks again for listening. I am your host, Terry Ann Hyman. To your spirit, namaste.